By April 26, 1992, Yugoslavia was a shadow of its former self. What had once been a proud multi-ethnic federation of 6 republics was now fractured, with Serbia and Montenegro all that remained. In Belgrade, the capital, life went on as usual, but there was an unspoken understanding that this was the end of something much larger. Slobodan Milosevic, the Serbian leader who had driven much of the nationalist sentiment, sat in his office, reviewing the papers that would formalize the creation of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. It was a name that carried little meaning anymore. The Yugoslavia he had grown up in, a country that had survived 2 world wars and decades of communist rule, no longer existed. Now, Serbia and Montenegro were the last 2 republics holding on to the name, but even Milosevic knew it wasn't the same. Elsewhere in the country, the final hours were anything but quiet. In Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the siege had already begun. Gunfire echoed through the streets, and mortar shells rained down on the city, reducing it to rubble. The war in Bosnia was raging, a brutal conflict that pitted Serbs, Croats and Bosniaks, Bosnian Muslims, against one another. The idea of Yugoslavia, a unified state of South Slavic peoples, had become irrelevant in Sarajevo. For the people there, survival was the only concern. Families hid in basements, hoping the next shell wouldn't hit their building. In Montenegro, a smaller republic south of Serbia, leaders were quietly preparing for the formal creation of the new Yugoslavia. The atmosphere was somber. There were no celebrations, no sense of victory, just a pragmatic acceptance of what had to be done. The country they were about to form was a mere fragment of the original Yugoslavia, yet they kept the name as if it could preserve some of the unity that had been lost. By April 27th, the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia was officially born. There was little fanfare. In Belgrade, the news came over radios and televisions, but most people went about their day. The grand vision of Yugoslavia, a country that had once bridged East and West and promised unity among diverse peoples, was gone. Slovenia, Croatia, and Bosnia had already declared independence, and Macedonia had quietly followed suit. The international community had moved on, recognizing these new countries and focusing on managing the growing conflict in the region. For many, the end of Yugoslavia was not a sudden event. The country had been disintegrating for years, torn apart by nationalist politics and brutal wars. By the time the official announcement came, the sense of loss had already sunk in. The dream of a unified Yugoslavia had died long before, replaced by the grim reality of ethnic violence and territorial disputes.